Hi, I'm Robert Gibson.
I'm Ricky Morton.
We're the Rock and Roll Express.
And you're watching WGS TV.
Welcome back to the Stanley Parable, right here on WGS TV. I am the Wrestle Gamer, Double B Billy Boudreaux, along with the incomparable Lance Moss from Lance Moss TV. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Now, on the previous installment of the Stanley Parable, we went through two of the basic endings to the game, which was called, the first one was the Freedom ending, which is basically you listening outright to what the narrator says. You're going where he tells you to go and whatnot. And the other one is a confusing ending where, well, everything keeps getting restarted. We had the Stanley Parable Adventure Line and whatnot. So what we're going to do on this installment, guys, is there are two more endings we're going to do. And they both involve a telephone. So what exactly am I talking about? Well, let's go ahead and get started here. No, I don't want that. Here, let's just start this game.
The end is never. The end is never. The end is loading.
Hey. Oh, loading screen, oh, loading screen. Why for art thou so freaking long?
I know, right?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone, What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Alright, now, like I said, we're going to be not listening to Mr. Narrator here, in a sense, when it comes to following his directions.
Yeah, we piss off the
Stanley
narrator
came to
again.
a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Now, as you guys remember on the last installment, when we're doing the confusion ending, we went down here and we went to the elevator to get that done, but we're not going to do that this time. Instead, we're going to go through here.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
I think it's just for your benefit. The narrator said Stanley is so bad at following directions, he's amazed he wasn't fired years ago. And now watch, we're going to go onto this platform right here.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Elevator up.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley.
See, now the phone rang, and on this instance, we picked it up.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about...
You're trapped in the closet.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him.
Is that an alien or something?
Well, it was representation of what the narrator was, trying to make fun of Stanley and, for not having a wife.
So he gave him
He imagined that he
Seamus's
came
sister.
to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful.
Actually, that's pretty tame compared to Seamus.
Please press LT to prepare dinner. Pay attention to, after every one of these things, the narrator has something to say. Just watch for when these things pop up, because it'll say something hilarious.
As he wandered through this
noticed that?
world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
Filing cabinet.
Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Please press Y to tell your kids a story. Well, once upon a time...
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Please press Y to tell your wife you love her. Honey, I got something to tell you. It doesn't involve you either.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Please press Y to go to sleep. Okay.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Hello? Hello? No, she's not. Now see, in this instance right here, Lancy said, the next time I ask you to push a button, what the narrator says, don't do it. But we're going to do it.
Cool.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Please press LT to question nothing. Okay.
I suppose I can't.
Nothing. Is that a new Jeff Hardy character?
But
I think so.
Make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed the button. And I tried again.
That's just rude.
And Stanley pushed the button. And I tried.
Well, that's what happens when you go to answer the telephone, but what would happen if we pulled the phone line out, guys and gals? If you're wondering what's going to happen that time, well, we're going to find out. As we do have a chance to restart that. And so far, Mr. Narrator is being quiet.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
And we're heading back to the employee lounge.
Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
For a company with a gold phone, I wonder what their
But
employee
eager to get back
benefits
to
package
business,
is.
Stanley took the
Same here.
first open door on his left.
Justin, do me a favor, put it on channel 18
Stanley
for
was
me.
so bad at following directions, it's incredible
Price
he
is
wasn't
Right.
fired years ago.
The price is wrong, bitch.
Alright.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. Oh, no, you can't... Did you just unplug the phone?
Yep, we
Well,
just
that
unplugged
wasn't
the
supposed to
phone.
be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
No, really? I'm a real
I can't
person?
believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making
Watch
in
this.
the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house.
What?
Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood,
4
that
equals
person
fish.
is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice
This is
saying,
as confusing
"My
as
goodness,
Dixie Carter
is it
for mine."
4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Practice.
Well, Billy, you know they do say it makes perfect, but this don't make perfect sense.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular
What the
basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Okay, whoever came up with this part had to be smoking something.
Welcome back.
What
You
the?
may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good
Yep,
decision
definitely
making,
smoking
we're
some.
going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Alright,
Even though your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
So what it's making us do is backtrack and see how our decision making is affecting the game. That video was messed up though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, whoever
Almost
designed
there.
that video
You'll take the door on the left, back to the
was
correct
seriously
ending.
smoking
The story
some
will have
high
resolution
quality
once
stuff.
again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
maybe spiked with a little bit of LSD or something. Because couldn't no sober-minded person think of that.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Well, we were supposed to go on the door on the left. Nope, we're gonna go back to the door on the right.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late. Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
He shut the game down.
I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Now watch this.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry. is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens every time now.
Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
See, now, since we did what he said...
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this run here, guys and gals. On the next installment of the Stanley Parable, we're going to try to do a couple of more endings on here for you guys to see. So, until then, you know, with my thanks to the incomparable Lance Moss for joining me this time, I'm the Russell Gamer, Double B Billy Boudreaux, saying thank you very much for watching, and always listen to your narrator.